Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Factorio. I have fantastic news. If you watch the entirety of the last episode, then you'll know all about this setup. It is all fully working. If we open these centrifuges, you'll see that they have roughly a stockpile of around 80 inside of them. Sometimes you'll see a little bit less because my system for getting the excess uranium out of here is a little bit sloppy, but I put in a long-handed inserter into a storage chest. It's hooked up to this steel chest here. So as soon as we start to see a little excess building in here, this is able to take out from this building from that stockpile. Actually, no, it probably takes it from the output now that I think about it. But anyway, it works. It puts them into these storage chests, and then they get moved to our requester chest. So down here, we now have an excessive amount of all of these, and that's fantastic. And of course, these over here will continue to produce them, but if we have a look at how much of the regular uranium we're using up, we're actually like getting through this stockpile, although it's sort of backing up into the stuff behind, right? That might cause some problems if this gets fully backed up, and then they're sitting here doing nothing while the ones in front, it'll probably figure itself out, right? Because if the ones in front are doing more work, it will take the uranium from there, and if not, it'll take it from the back. Anyway, if we head all the way up to the top, the next thing we're going to be doing today is creating the uranium fuel cell, and this is the fuel that fuels the reactor. So the uranium fuel cell needs both types of uranium, and we are now producing loads of both types. It may mean, though, that we need to expand our mining operation here, which I have been doing. And it may mean also in the future, well, it definitely will mean we'll need to seek out more patches as we run out of uranium. So there's some up there, and hopefully I'll find some closer by. I mean, we've got some small patches, but realistically we want to find a large patch next time we settle down. So over here, things are looking okay. I've been keeping an eye on it, removing some of the drills when they run out and adding some more ones, but all looks kind of good at the moment. And I guess what we're going to do, as I said, first of all, is work on this little setup. But I'm also going to be designing the reactor today. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to design the reactor in a big open space and all the components that go with it. That includes all these steam turbines. Then I'm going to convert it into one big blueprint and move it to where I think it'll be suitable. And then do the aesthetics last. I think that would be a better order in which to do all of these things we need to do. And I have started that process, but I have also worked on this area a little bit, as you can see. Starting to leave some of the natural terrain down below, as otherwise I think there'll just be too much of the same textures over and over again. But over here we've kind of shuffled in this iron, and I threw down some pipes. So I was thinking maybe we can just leave these lying around so they kind of look like details. There may be some other blocks in this game that could contribute to doing that as well. Anyway, you can see that the belt ends here, and to make it look tidy, I've put that on the end of it like a cap, and I'll put in an inserter, and then this thing has all the ingredients to make the fuel, and it goes into a passive provider chest. So from that point, it'll then get flown over to where the nuclear reactor is. So our reactor will have a set of long-handed inserters on either side, because we have to have these heat pipes going around the outside to transfer the heat out of the nuclear reactor itself, which by the way looks absolutely amazing. Look at the detail when you zoom in, that's fantastic. We also need to take things out as well, so there's going to be this need for a gap, which I don't think I really considered when I was doing this, because the idea of this design is that it would be rotated each time it's shuffled around. But I think there might be a little bit of a problem with these heat pipes, because I think they carry less heat with distance, and we need to get rid of all this heat into the boilers. Now this layout right here would use a few more steam turbines overall, but I think what I've got to focus on, the error that I'm doing here, is to cram in as many of these as possible next to the heat pipes close to the reactors, and then ship the steam that it creates away through pipes. So you can see I've brought a lot of pipes with me, and currently I was thinking like let's ship them straight into the steam turbines, but I don't think that's the proper way to do it. So we're going to get rid of all of this and try again. I have just returned to the base to discover that this, which requires 5 advanced circuits, has been incorrectly configured. This was set to the wrong item, and look at all of that. A stupid amount of substations. We're probably never going to have to craft these again. So we are pretty much ready to build this facility now, and I'm going to make a decision to chop down trees, because I was looking at the ideal space to build this, And I didn't like the idea of chopping down all these trees, but it's kind of in the spirit of Factorio that you're here on this alien planet ripping out all the resources and destroying the life here. And it made me think that maybe it'd be cool to do a really cool challenge where you don't chop down trees and you build your base sort of through them, but that's not what we're going to do in this series. Anyway, this right here I believe has half or just over half the amount of steam turbines we need in total. So we'll be able to mirror that and put it on the opposite side. And what I was trying to do was compact all of these so that they are closer to the heat pipes, and I think we have basically done that. There are a couple of challenges still in front of us. We have to bring water into this system, and I'm not sure quite where those pipes are going to go, but I've got some ideas. And we also need to put some storage tanks in here to store some of the excess steam as well, as these things are going to pipe out a ridiculous amount of it. And you know what? I just took a journey back to get supplies and I completely forgot to pick up the tanks again. So the robots have done their work. They've been flying over here, chopping down the forest, and we've put up this grid of substations and roboports, and we're doing that so we can figure out where is this build going to fit into our layout that we've got. Let's go grab the blueprint for our nuclear reactor. Remember, this is going to be duplicated on both sides, and unfortunately it's not going to squeeze in between the roboports. Look at this, 1 block difference at the top and bottom. If those roboports could go 1 block further apart, we could squeeze it in there. So this means what we're going to do is actually put the nuclear reactor in the middle, so these don't ever interfere with the roboports. But they will interfere with the substations, and you know what, that's fine. So I reckon if we zoom out, we're looking at pretty much here being the site where this could go. We could bring it down a little bit so it's closer to the other area, but I think it would be cool to try and align it with this grid a little bit, and then again with aesthetics, use the space to make this area look more important. Okay then, I think we have our final setup here, and with nighttime approaching, let's see if we can attach some electricity so the lights will turn on as there are lights in the area. I need to put some in the middle. I think I was going to put them sort of next to these lamps, so I'll put them there as a reminder. Anyway, let's just run through what's happening here. The water is hooked up so it goes through all of the heat exchangers and crosses across the middle at top and bottom, and then over here they're going to make their way through the gaps of the steam turbines to go out to the sides, and we'll have to hook them up to 5 water pumps, and that should be enough. I'm probably going to change it to 6 since we've got 3 pipes on each side. Then we have these gaps like this set up so we can walk through easily to either side. And what's going on here is the heat exchangers are passing all of their steam that they create into this circular loop of pipes. And it goes around like this. And it can also come out the other side. The steam can come in from this side as the loop crosses through the middle over here, and it wraps around the back. And I've been actually making some tweaks, like over here, having all of this is a little bit pointless. I think I did it on the other side but forgot to mirror it over here. So we'll create a symmetrical layout, and I'll start to put in some extra paths and then some details as I go and gather materials so we can work on the aesthetics of this. But we are missing one thing, and that is a place to store all of the steam. And I brought 80 tanks, which I think is more than enough. I think you only need like 40. So we'll create an array of about 20 tanks here, 20 over there, and then at top and bottom, or maybe on the sides. So I'm not really sure what's the best way to go about this, but it looks like we'll have more space in these regions between where the substations are. So hopefully we can squeeze them all in. By the way, quick tip for you, if you right click on the deconstruction planner, you can click up here, trees and rocks only, as I'm going to clear all the trees and rocks from just up the top here. By the way, we had a power issue again. As you'll see, the rest of the base is unpowered. We ran out of coal and all of that, but I picked up some comments from one of the videos a while back. What I should have done, rather than putting this in here, is just create a priority, and I'm going to create the priority here. So output priority goes to the right hand side, thus meaning it's going to output the coal here first before it does over there. So that may prevent us from running into this problem again, but the reality was there was just so little coal coming through on the belt because I left it for that long. And obviously we're about to fix everything real soon with our nuclear power. The aesthetics in this game do take their time, I'll tell you that. So I've gone and put these type of stone bricks down and around where the steam turbines are, and we've put 80 of these storage tanks in with this really cool layout. It's all fantastic. There may be some logic stuff that we do in a little while. I'm going to look into being able to tally all of the total storage of all of the storage tanks together and then create a signal to control when we're putting fuel into the nuclear reactor, which is an important part of what we're going to do next. But there it is. That's the layout. Wow, awesome. And now I'm working on the pipes. And I've got to go and collect a lot more because I've just run out of them. But you can see here we bring the water in from the side, and then we're going to head upwards. So we're going to go up in a line over here, up in a line on the opposite side, and hopefully that won't get in the way of factory stuff in the future, but we can always move it around. And by the looks of it, they're both going to go up relatively close to this copper patch, so we're probably going to go around the copper patch and then across to this water here, and hopefully find a way to pull out 6 different pumps, since we have 6 different lines in, even though we only need 5. Alright, we have laid down some pipes, bringing us all the way up to this copper patch. The aliens are quite nearby. I'm going to install some pumps, and I don't want them to get attacked, so we're going to take out the little nest over there on the side. Last time we did this, we did it with our lasers, and I was bringing power up here, but I thought I'd try this with defender capsules. This is probably going to go very bad, isn't it? Okay, don't know how many of those I can have max. Apparently 10 is it. Let's get a poison capsule out here and try and find a way through. I'm going to have my machine gun. Here we go. Here we go. Fire at stuff. Shoot things. Okay, take out the nest. Oh, there are a lot of those big ones there. These things are getting wrecked, aren't they? Oh my. They are not as strong. Right, we want to poison them a couple of times and then blast them with the shotgun. Oh, jeez, I took a big hit then. And all of my defenders are gone as well. And now I'm stuck against a tree. Quick, keep moving. Okay, no more of these silly games, I say. That being said, power's been pretty awful in the base for a while. We've got no accumulator charge. So this might not go so well. Alright, let's see what they can do. They can fire. And they're kind of out of range of most of the stuff. Okay, it's all been taken care of now. That was a pretty poor attempt. There are more nests nearby, like up here, but I think that'll do for now. We can get to the water. I'm also going to put a radar in the area. I think that would be a good idea. Okay, that's all hooked up, and we've got neat little rows of pipes over here. Wonderful. Wonderful, I say. So at this point we are almost ready to fire this thing up, but we also need to set a condition in which we no longer feed this thing fuel. So down here we've got the means to take out empty fuel, which will go over here, and put in fuel on that side, and that's cool. But these things will heat up, provide lots and lots of energy, and if we're not using it all, then the steam is going to start to back up into these storage tanks. And we're going to use something that I just did a little experiment with, and it turns out this is pretty straightforward. It's called a arithmetic combinator. If you remember, we went through all the logistics stuff and created all of them in our factory setup, so I can get as many of these as I want. And I think what we're going to do is use one for both sides. So one of the places I might put it is just in front of these chests. Now what we have to do is combine cables, and this thing can do some maths. So we can take some inputs from one place and then give it an output which will go to the long-handed inserter to say no longer insert any fuel. Pretty straightforward, right? What we're going to do is a really basic one actually, is add up all of these storage tanks. So we've got to get these red wires over to where our arithmetic combinator is. And you might be thinking, well, you should just put it closer, but there's so many of these, they're going to always be far from somewhere. So I think the way we're going to do this is like so. We put it to a substation, then we bring the red cable over here, and it does actually go that far, and then we bring it through the electric poles all the way up to the arithmetic combinator on its input. Now if we go and select the storage tank, actually no, we want to select what's inside the storage tank, which makes this kind of a bad experiment. And that is because the storage tank is obviously empty. Well, the thing that I wanted to experiment with is if I attach multiple things to this substation, let's click again, do they then all share the same red wire? So now we should have a combination of over 80 odds of those materials available to the network. So if we come over here, if we actually hover over that, it shows us right there, signals, look, 92. So we've got it all in place. Right. Now what I would do is I would select the input and then I would go to divide and we would divide by 3 because we've selected 3 chests, and then it would give us an output, which it hasn't done. Maybe that is the output? Yes, 30. So it's divided 92 into 30. Okay, now there is 100 in each chest. 300 divided by 3 is 100, and that's what this thing now does. Excellent. It looks like I've understood exactly how this works. Usually things aren't that smooth. Now what I have to do is wire up every single one of these storage tanks to this network from both sides. Remember, up here, down there, to this thing, and then it's got to communicate with the long-handed inserters. But so far it's been pretty straightforward, and the thing that we would be counting is the steam that we are creating from these boilers that go through the steam turbines to create energy. They will get stored inside of these tanks. Okay, it's a little messy to see, but you might see clusters of reds up the top here and down the bottom. I've also found a way to wire it across through the middle, and we've got a parallel layout here, but on the other side what we will do is send with a green wire across and around to some of these. Which ones is it going to be? It's going to be the input, isn't it? Yeah, because we want to stop the input. Okay, we're just going to go for it now and then figure this thing out. So production has started, and as soon as a uranium fuel cell is created, it will get flown up top. Okay, this thing is actually kind of slow, but then again we've got very little electricity in the system, so it should run faster. I put in speed upgrades as well. Oh, and does it like create 5 at a time or something? Because it's just flown a few of them over here, so it's going to distribute them out to our blue chests here, which are requesting 10. Okay, now those should go and insert into here. Please don't tell me I've made some sort of fundamental mistake. Why? Oh, it's because it's looking 1 block lower down. Luckily, we've got room for these modifications. And let's go ahead and put in the fuel. Alright, so the reactors are now firing up, and they will take a little bit of time to do this as well. So we're going to have to wait around for a moment. Ah, it looks like what side of this block you click on is very important. Right, or maybe not, because it looked like the red wire had gone to the output side then. I'm trying to get an output out of here, and I was experimenting with what these signals were. Okay then, on the side of the screen the temperature is about to hit 500, and I believe that's when it starts to kick in, right? Things are happening. We have steam in the system and we are generating power. Let's open up the power network. The amount of megawatts we are creating has just gone through the roof. Our accumulator charge is skyrocketing. That's amazing. And once it sucks all of that electricity out of the system, you can see, look at this. That's incredible how much we're producing. Now the tanks are going to start to fill up, and this means that this thing should be working. In fact, that blinking light to me suggests it's doing a calculation constantly. And it works as I suspected. So we are taking all of the steam that we have linked up through the cables, dividing it by 80, which is the total amount, and the output will tell us how much there is on average in each tank, right? Now these things can store up to 25 each. The problem is, if we tell this thing to stop working, it takes time to slow down as well, so what we might need to do is tell it to stop when the average is something like 3 or 4 or 5k, which is what we're getting immediately close to. So let's go ahead and now configure this output to each of these inserters. Okay, this enabled condition means that only when the signal, grey signal, is lower than 3000 can it operate. Let's make sure I copy the right one across. Excellent, let's copy them down here, and we should have actually hit that already because it produces so much so quick. This thing is telling us that the output signal is 5k already, so that means it's no longer going to give it more fuel. It's already put quite a bit in there that could last a while. I'm a little bit worried actually that we might be producing too much for our own goods. I think I'm going to take those fuel cells out of there already. You can't hook these cables up to things like nuclear reactors. It'd be nice to be able to look inside and see how many there were in there, because we actually kind of only want to have one at a time going in. If we go back down to these storage tanks, they are filling up quickly. In fact, the correct way to look at it is over here. So an average of 7k. Anyway, if you didn't quite catch what I did there, I think the output is just a value that appears on the system. So we could make the output something like iron ore. Now, if iron ore was also being counted elsewhere in the system, it might add together, but I don't know that. But anyway, it allows you to use all of these numbers, letters, and colors as signals as well to transfer the information, right? So the temperature stays above 500, but I believe these are powered down, so that's good. When we look at the steam turbines, they have steam in them. I believe they're still outputting power, but they're just not operating at full capacity. So they're probably slowly getting through all of this steam. Now, when I mouse over up the top here, you'll see that we're looking at 11k across most of this. And then down the bottom, it's similar. But when I go to this thing, the average always seems to be a significant amount smaller. Look at that. The average is 8.2. And I don't think I've done the math incorrectly here. We have 5 and then 10, 20, 30, 40. And then at the top, it would be 80. So I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, once that drops below 3k, they will hand over some fuel and the whole process will start again. As we consume more power over time, we'll need to come back and modify and change those numbers as well, as it takes time to get it firing back up, right? And we don't want to be without fuel for a while. But anyway, everything in the base now gets to run at full speed, and there's something else that I wanted to show you. While we've been working on that, of course, we've been producing tons and tons of this uranium, and so this is the place where it's going to go and hang out. I figured we might as well just fill up the chest and see how much we produced in total. Wow, look at that. We've almost filled up an entire chest, which is pretty impressive. You will notice, though, we're out of iron here and the train hasn't returned yet, and that's probably a little bit of a problem. We need a buffer there, which I'm going to work on in the next episode. And I think this is where we'll wrap this one up, because we've got the nuclear power online, and that's going to enable our power needs for a long, long time. So if you've enjoyed this episode, then please do leave a like. As always, thank you for your support, and I'll see you soon with another one. Bye-bye.